Daisy Mary Clover was born in Suffolk, England in 1881. Daisy came to Newcastle in 1910 with her husband, John Garrett. To most of the people in town, Daisy will be remembered as Granny Garrett. Daisy Mary Clover was the oldest daughter of John Lee Clover and Elizabeth Bessie King. At the time of Daisy's birth in 1881, the Clovers had been milling with wind and water in Suffolk for centuries. Daisy was born at the Layham Mill in Suffolk, just east of the Nedging Mill, where her grandfather was the miller. Daisy's father, John Lee Clover, was the miller at the Layham Mill in 1881. Suffolk is one of the most ancient counties in England. One of the major cities is Ipswich, which is 66 miles from London. The towns of Bildeston and Nedging are approximately 13 miles from Ipswich. One of the earliest accounts we have of Daisy is a letter written by her grandmother, Elizabeth King, in 1890. The letter was written at Elizabeth King's home, the Lodge in Bildeston. Elizabeth was the wife of Henry King, a successful farmer in Bildeston. In the letter, dated February 7th, 1890, Elizabeth thanks her son Harry for the gift that he'd sent. Elizabeth mentions in the letter, having just turned 70 on January 11th, that she is having some trouble getting around and her leg feels badly. Elizabeth mentions that dear Daisy and dear little Bessie had just stayed with her for 3 days. They are such nice children, so lively. Elizabeth also mentions that Henry's had a tough winter, but thank God that he's able to work outside in the garden today. Elizabeth King describes in the letter how her son-in-law, John Lee Clover, had come into town to pay his men. By 1890, John Lee Clover was the miller at the Nedging Mill. He had taken over from his father, Dennis Gray Clover, who passed away in 1885. In this photo, taken approximately 1890, John Lee Clover and his wife Bessie are standing in front of the mill house. This photo, taken at least 10 years later, around 1900, has John and Bessie Clover with their daughters Nellie, Daisy, Bessie, and son John. In this earlier photo of the mill, shown beside a contemporary picture of the mill, without the red barn in the back with the blue door. This red barn in the back was built by John Lee Clover and his father Dennis Gray Clover in 1875. In the 1841 census of Nedging, Isaac Clover is the miller. Isaac Clover is Daisy's great-grandfather and Dennis Gray Clover's father. The Clover family has a long tradition of milling in Suffolk, and in particular at Nedging. At St. Mary's Church in Nedging, this row of tombstones are all Clovers, and they date right back to the 1700s.
Go. In remembrance of Isaac Clover, who died November 27, 1800, aged 51 years, Though you were gone, your memories still remain. My loss, I hope, is your eternal gain.
In Dedham, Janet Nichol and I, who is a great-granddaughter of John Lee Clover, met up with Tony Clover, whose family owned the Dedham Mill. Tony Clover has gathered and assembled a fantastic amount of information about the Clovers of Suffolk and their milling history. Tony was gracious enough to sit down with Janet and I for over an hour and a half and talk about the Clover history.
Dennis Charles Mary.
These are the ones
we
here.
are.
Yeah.
John Lee. That's the one who died in 1912, and I
And
hadn't
that's
got
my
his.
granddad. He died in 1974.
But that had an effect on the water coming down to Nedging. So the family were taking the water twice.
Yeah.
Nedging is only a mile and a half downstream from Chelmsford, and the family were working it out. I've raised my gates, you raise yours, or there'll be more water coming down. See what I mean?
Yeah.
They're working together. And that was going on from 1660, when we first get to see Nedging Mill working with the name of Clover, and I can't remember which one it is, but I've got it. It first came to light through one of the Clovers not keeping up his hedges. And somebody, Robert Potlington, was chiding him for not looking after his hedges. And that was 1635 or somewhere there. But there was a Clover and Nedging Mill then.